Hello, everyone, and welcome along to the VCO Studio show hosted by me, Ben Constanduros. Here at VCO, we are passionate about merging the world of real and esports racing, something I'm personally very passionate about as well. And we want to get to the very heart of what makes esports racing tick, whether it be the competitors out on track or the guys behind the scenes. And today we have our guest, who is both. Nils Naujoks is one of the very best in ACC, but also team manager for the Red Bull Racing esports team, and therefore has two hats very much to play with across the sea. Good evening,
Indeed.
Nils.
Yeah, indeed. Hey, Ben, how are you?
So there's doing a bit of This Is Your Life first, Nils, so finding out how you got involved in esports racing, and then we're going to move on to some of your views, because I know you have plenty of them, in both your hats, and it'd be really interesting to find out some more about how things work. So first of all, how did you get involved and find passion in, firstly, motorsports and then esports racing?
Yeah, so probably this goes back to like 1994 when Michael Schumacher won his first title. And I think ever since then, at least for a decade or so, I didn't miss a single race. And when computers became better and I got older, and sooner or later I tapped into some of the games, of course, Grand Prix 1, 2, 3, something along those lines. But it only really got real when I picked up Live for Speed early in 2003 when the ESL had a Pro Series on that game with actual prize money, and it only needed me to break collarbone to be locked at home. And this is when I picked up the wheel and started driving. And yeah, didn't take me too long to pick up pace, and I decided, well, give this a shot.
So how did you break a collarbone?
I was not trying to, but I made a backflip on a BMX bike. So yeah, that was more unfortunate than not. But thinking back to it, this is like 2.5 decades ago or something. Now I'm sitting here right in sim racing in the middle of it, and I probably wouldn't have been there without that backflip.
Yeah, absolutely. And for your early days then of sim racing on Live for Speed, you were driving with one arm?
Yeah, indeed. I really don't recall how that all went down, but I just worked with automatic shifting for the first 6 weeks or so, and then once I got my second arm back, just try to increase my pace and qualify for the series.
You got faster. So you were playing games offline, as it were, with GP1, 2, 3, and then you heard about that competition and got Live for Speed, or had Live for Speed and then decided to do the competition?
I think so. It was really on some forum of GP3 or 4 at the time where someone just mentioned Live for Speed existing, basically.
Yeah.
And I can still remember the first feeling that I had when I downloaded the game and sat in the car, and everything was just different from all the games I had before, because it was the first hardcore sim I played. And it was so entirely different. It was so difficult to drive the cars that immediately caught my attention fully, and I couldn't stop.
Yeah, you do have a bit of an addictive personality when it comes to competition. Do you think that kind of helped you in those early days refine your talent and driving finesse in that particular series?
I'm pretty sure that yeah, I mean, just sitting there, getting in there, not stopping for 8 hours straight or something, just staying hungry unless you reach that time you wanted to break into or something, and watching the replay of the fastest guys back in these days over and over and again, and failing, restarting, driving more laps, crashing, and yeah, I was persistent.
And you were very successful. Those first the very first offline but on-site finals were the ESL BMW supported finals.
I think BMW actually came in later, like a couple of years where they had their own branded competition on that particular game. But before that was really just the ESL having their Pro Series. I think the only sponsor was Intel back at the time of ESL. Yeah, indeed. They really accelerated the whole thing back then. And yeah, I got lucky going into the series with the first qualifying chance I had. And then until the actual series started, I had more time to improve myself. And then I think the first season was already successful, though very tight in the final.
And this was a time where you were winning prize money every time you jumped into a competition, right?
Yeah, but the money back then, I think we had 5,000 of a prize pool for the entire series. So
Yeah.
that included the final and all races that we had. And I think I made like 80 euros when I won a race.
It's better than nothing.
Definitely. I mean, at the time, I was like the only of my friends doing money with esports, so I was proud as hell.
Yeah, exactly. And it was a long time ago. So then it started to kind of get bigger, and you had this this legendary competition with Danny in the finals to win a BMW.
You had to bring that up, did you?
Of course.
So yeah, that was the only competition I can recall that Danny actually beat me. Sorry.
Only competition. Brilliant.
Um, and yeah, that was great because when they chose our game that we were doing for years, we knew, okay, we're the best on this. Now it will be very hard for any outsiders to beat us. So we were confident going in there and doing the practice and doing or going to different qualifying events where you can set a lap time. I think I did it even in a like a show race against Timo Glock where I set my qualifying time for that final.
Nice.
That's when I actually locked into this final. And then when we went there, 7 out of 10 guys, we knew each other and kind of told each other, let's just take it easy, put on a great show because, never know when we get the chance again. So let's make sim racing shine and let's talk after what we do with the prize.
Just on a side, if you do hear any loud bangs over the next 20 minutes, I do apologize. There's a massive thunderstorm happening outside right now, and all my windows are open. So if there is anything that happens untoward, or if I disappear, it's because a lightning strike has destroyed my house. Either way, back to the competition. So you had these massive competitions to do, and then Nils Naujoks disappeared. What happened?
I think just the scene around that game kind of dried out. The ESL stopped having a prize pool, stopped supporting it, and of course I got older, got different things to do. Had like my training on the job to do. Then eventually did my A levels, went to university, and that's the latest probably when I didn't have any time for sim racing anymore.
And you became adult and serious and got a proper job.
50%. I made 50% of the way, let's say. So definitely some childish, what you call it, trait stayed alive within me, and then it became 2018 with the Erock qualifier, I think.
Yeah, so I mean, that's a decent amount of time away from esports racing. Obviously, you were still following motorsport generally. How did that come about? How did you suddenly find out that there was this competition that was happening and dust off your old wheel?
I think that G2 was moving offices to Berlin, and Denny got a bigger role on that team and was visiting Berlin more often. And at the early days, he was just taking my couch, and we just talked about the whole scene, how it developed, and that's how we get back in touch in a way. And then I don't know. So he was probably my line of information. And then he said, "Look, this a competition is something for you. It's hot lapping. I think this was your thing." He was entirely right. So then I went to the store, got a Logitech wheel real quick, started lapping and qualified for Erock.
It's an amazing story, and it's kind of very personal to me, obviously, as you know, from being the kind of co-creator of it to seeing all of these stories come out of it. Talk a little bit about Erock as an experience. I know not necessarily a successful one for you, but still an incredible experience that kind of set you off on a new path.
I wouldn't even say it was unsuccessful. I mean, I made it instantly to the top 4, top 5, even though it was a wild card. I think I showed time-wise that sim racing is something you can come back to, even if you became a little older. So qualifying either through the times or through the wild card, I think for me didn't mean I wouldn't deserve it or something. So I was completely happy just being there in the first place. And then, okay, I got 4th in that very competition, but we had these races. I won some of them, didn't win others. So I guess that was fine. And just in the rear car, I think I just took it too easy. Could have gone faster. Not sure the fastest, but certainly more than I did. So overall, very, very happy with myself there, even though I didn't come out on top.
Taking off the competition head and just kind of talking about the experience, though, of being around those drivers, being around those people that you've kind of watched on TV for years, and presumably as a German, watched that competition for years on TV as well.
Yeah, certainly did follow it when I think Vettel and Schumacher shared a car.
Yeah.
Because I like this competition so much because everybody had the same material, same chances, which usually in Formula One, you never know how much of the performance can be accounted to the driver, how much to the car. So the Race of Champions always was a great show. I mean, it's all show, right? But it was a great way to just put these guys against one another. And I guess everyone there always takes it very competitively. And so the esports guys as well, right? So when we came there, we were all, of course, I think, kind of overwhelmed, except the guys who've already been there the year before.
Mm.
But other than that, I think we were completely into the mindset of not sharing any information with one another. Everyone kept his secrets just to get that tiny advantage.
And I love the fact. I mean, you showed me on the after the competition the fact that you'd modelled the track, because of course the track had been released as being in Forosol, and there were bits of information out there online. But you decided to actually get a model on AC, somebody to create a basic version so you could practice on it.
Yeah, I like this was our small secret, and just trying to get every advantage we could have, and I think it was already kind of trying to advertise myself for the G2 job. So I
Okay.
tried to bring some value, and that was just a fixed idea at the beginning. But when I talked to one or two people, they were like, you think that's possible, maybe so let's try to put together the piece of information that we have and try recreate that track as close as we can get and see if we can get a small advantage out of it. Apparently it didn't work, but
But amazing, and for me, a real eye opener that there was that kind of commitment going on in the competition. So post competition, then very, very soon after the competition, and actually frustratingly for me anyway, not before the competition, G2 and Red Bull partnered up, and suddenly you had the official Red Bull Esports team, which quite quickly you were announced as the team manager.
So I think the talks have been going since F1 Esports 2018 or so. So this was a little before Erock started. But it just took some time to get everything on paper and signed and the details covered until we then finally announced it, I think, in April 2019 or so. But until then, the team was pretty much set. Everybody was already kind of on the payroll. It was just about really making it public at that stage.
And did that mean that you suddenly had to quit the job that you had, like the normal job that you had in real life, and completely focus then on esports once again?
I think late 18, I was just quitting my other job to get time to write my master's thesis.
Okay.
So I was planning to have some time off. Then the competition came. Then Denny came. Then the job offer came. And was like, chance in a lifetime. Let's grab it. So now the master's thesis is set for this winter.
Are you still doing it?
Well, I was done with all the course. It was really just a thesis to write. But yeah, esports is intense. It's certainly more than the typical 8-hour job a day. It's more than the 5 days a week. So there's little time to focus in depth on like my studies.
And you had this hat, team manager hat on. I want to talk a little bit more detail about kind of how that and what that entails. But then you also had, you continued in a set of course of competitions, and then Competizione came about, and suddenly you are now a master of that as well.
So I think first I was just really looking at the managing part, but sooner or later you just get sucked into it again. And then
Yeah.
I got a wheel from, I think, Cem back in the days, who was in Germany before, then went back to Turkey, but he left his equipment. So this was stored in some basement and free to take. So I took a car, got it from, I don't know, halfway across Germany or something. And since then I had a wheel again, a proper one. And yeah, ever since I really just got dragged into it deeper. Of course, I didn't know I have the pace in me somewhere, just needed some more investment. And I guess hopefully at least it helped to some degree to prove to the guys I'm managing that I know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, you know what you're talking about from outside of the sim, but also inside as well. Why ACC? What was it about that new platform that kind of clicked with you?
So I knew the other games. I knew iRacing. It's there for over a decade. There's been R Factor ever since. I can think it was there in Live for Speed times already, right? At least the first of it. Then the second came 2000, not 2010, must be earlier than that. I don't know actually. And then I'm not any one of the arcade games from Codemasters or something. AC has been there since 2013, and then 6 years later, I don't know, it just worked because ACT is the newest title of them all that is entirely focusing on being a hardcore sim. So it just compelled to me the first time I tried it. Like the whole soundscape of the game was really compelling. The way the cars drove was very intuitively, not too easy. And I mean, certainly helped that I wasn't slow in it.
Absolutely not. And you've been winning lots and lots of different competitions, high-end competitions like the SRO and the Lamborghini, one of the very first people, I think, to qualify through to the Lamborghini finals. What is kind of driving you in competition? What is your kind of end goal there? There's lots of people that I speak to, they're kind of young drivers that want to be in the real world and stuff like this. Is it just winning for you?
Yeah, certainly. It's really just winning, and winning always means being the best. And probably this is something that was implanted into me somewhere in early childhood or something. And sim racing is at least for me, the perfect playground to be successful in being the best,
And
at least at times.
And for you, being the best means having a grasp on every single element of competition, because it's not just about driving fast for you. You need to look at the regulations. You want to extract every kind of bit of regulation, every advantage you can. Very Schumacher-esque, I always think.
Yeah, you have to be very focused and ready to go as deep as you can, and always look that step further, I think, because sim racing has grown so massively. There are so many people, and there's certainly a couple hundred people more like me who want to win no matter what. So I just assume everybody will take the smallest straw they can grab. So I'm trying to grab an even smaller one.
Yeah. And also, alongside that, you have a pretty much open Discord channel and a YouTube channel where you're kind of now almost openly giving tuition to other drivers. It's very philanthropic of you.
It's not entirely true, right? I mean, it wasn't planned that way, but initially I was just making these videos because I thought, okay, everybody's doing these track guides, but they're just driving along and saying what everybody's saying, like brake late, accelerate early, like nobody would know. And there's just way more detail to it. And I think there's just very few people who can really extract everything from their own driving, reflect on it, and then see what other people are doing differently, and then also grab them where they are and explain to them in a way that they understand what they need to change. And this is what it was about when I started that channel, and now it grew a bit. And being, maybe it's just an age thing, that I start to see financial opportunities in that as well. So now I'm just taking that leverage or reach that I have to try turn it into products one way or another. And therefore, the YouTube, of course, is a great tool, and the Discord is just a tool of the time for gamers to connect. So I think this still very early, but I guess this could turn into something.
But it's so easy when you're sitting at home in your sim, so away from the rest of the world, to be able to be selfish and just to do what you need to do. And the fact that you are sharing all of your experiences, and if you want you're offering also driver coaching, is, I think it's a very different philosophy to most people. Do you find it easy to kind of impart your knowledge on drivers, and people watch people going 3-4 seconds a lap slower and be able to build them up?
So what I enjoy there actually is that most people, even though if they're 4 seconds behind, aren't doing too much wrong. They underestimate like the level they already have, most of them, because they can already keep the car on the track. Most of them have an idea of where the car needs to be. In the end, it's just about having to really break it down to something very easy and superficial, is having the right speed at the right time at the right point. And they are all very close. It just needs, more often than not, needs a tiny adjustment to your pedal work, to your steering work, to let's say, the sequence of how you do things, that all of a sudden the car behavior changes completely for them. And then they're like, yeah, okay, I get this now. And then they improve a second out of nowhere, and they're really surprised. I'm surprised at the beginning, or I was surprised at the beginning that it really worked, because I had no clue. I was just kind of putting it out there, trying to teach people, and then it worked out. And now I'm more confident in my approach and how I teach these people. But even better than myself being able to transmit that knowledge is that people actually are able to convert it into their driving within maybe an hour or so.
I mean, you might have known that I've been trying to participate in the Lamborghini Celebrity Challenge. And I've also done some celebrity races on the race room as well, consistently 5.5 seconds off an expert's pace, and able to chip away hundreds of a second per lap on that pace, but never in a million years able to find 5.5. So I think it'd be quite fascinating to have a session with you, because it's obviously there, as you say, people are able to do it. It's just knowing where.
Yeah, so when you're like consistently off the pace in the same way, then there's certainly a pattern of what you do or what you don't do that just needs to be revealed and shown to you. And then I'm pretty sure we can shave 1 or 2 seconds of your times as well.
All right, it's a special feature for VCO in the next few weeks. I'll make sure I get onto the boss. Let's take off the racing driver hat, put on the Red Bull team manager hat. Exactly what is your role as team manager for Red Bull Racing Esports?
Yeah, I don't think it's written down, Sam, on what that job actually is. So part of it is really just keeping everything organized in the background, right? There's the tournament organizers that need information, and they don't want to talk to 100 or 200 drivers or even 20. They want to have like a single point of contact, and that would be me. I have pre-gathered basically all the information about the drivers that I will ever need to pass it on, hopefully. So I'm like the point of contact when anybody wants to invite Red Bull Racing, or when we go to F1 Esports, there's something to align on, or information needs to go from the drivers towards the tournament organization or so. Then this is my job. Then of course I plan the travels with the guys if we would have a normal year. Other than that, making sure they get their salary in time, they get hardware if they need it. Half fire extinguisher, half enabler or something.
And that's interesting. You talk about salary. So the Red Bull Racing Esports drivers are salaried, and you have a budget that you are able to play with that you distribute towards all the drivers?
I think like in the top level sim racing right now, this is standard. There are definitely different models around that, like how money is obtained. Maybe some teams may incentivize it more. Who say you only get money when you finish on the podium or something. And then there was no thunderstorm.
That's a weird sound, isn't it? There you go. Sorry, carry on.
So there are certainly teams who would incentivize certain finishing positions more, and our approach is more of freeing the drivers of the need to win in order to make them able to win, because it takes away a lot of pressure if we say there's this basic salary that you get, and now you can focus on actually winning the competition, because if you don't, there's still something that you get and you won't starve on the streets. And other teams have different models that can pay off or not. There's always something positive and negative about everything.
And where does that money come from? We haven't really spoken to many team managers on this, and it's very, personally, very interesting for me. You also got a pool that you can pay your drivers. You've got what, 6, 7 drivers as professionals? Is that correct?
Yeah, so we're actually doing a little more. Right now we have a roster of 12 drivers. So we have, Red Bull Racing is in fact 2 F1 Esports teams, right? With Toro Rosso, which is likely going right now. That is AlphaTauri as well. Then we have like the iRacing guys. We have some doing a new Assetto Corsa competition that is coming up. We have race room guys, and we have the Forza team. So all these make up 12. And you were asking where the money comes from. That right now is, I think, most of the Formula One teams, at least, of which I know some, are investing in that space and trying. In the end, I think most of them are trying to make this a profitable product on its own, and just not just in the marketing department, right? So this is our brand, and we say hi through this channel as well. They want to make this a product. And I guess we're very early stage in convincing partners to get on board with that. And just everything in sim racing still, in a way, is young in the sense that it isn't entirely professionalized as it is in other esports. So there's still a lot to improve and to learn before I think there's this somewhat of a central infrastructure that gets repeated in every competition or something. So right now, everything is still a little clustered in sim racing. So it's just more work to get it, the pieces together in a way.
And how do you see it becoming sustainable for the teams like yourself? I think what you're saying is that kind of Red Bull for you is specifically kind of support your team. Where do you see sim racing and esports racing going, so that you don't have to rely upon Red Bull as a sponsor, but actually it will just self-fund itself?
I mean, Red Bull in this way isn't the sponsor; they are the owner of the team.
Yeah.
And they are looking for sponsors to refinance the whole thing. And so they are looking to make deals here and there with, I don't know, hardware partners, with traditional motorsports brands that they already have ties to. And then it's just about forming the product in a way that all these partners get value from it. So we also need to build our drivers as brands themselves for them to create the reach. And then only then we will have the possibility to sell this reach to these partners. And I guess it's just about everyone really understanding that in this sense, sim racing works pretty similar to the real world, right? You need to have a reach, you need to have a reason, and then somebody must be willing to pay that money. You need to offer him something or her, and then you can go and make a proper entertainment product.
As you can see, Nils Naujoks is not just a very fast driver, but he's a very intelligent man as well. And that is why we're seeing Red Bull Racing Esports doing so well across all the different platforms, because this is the man that's in charge, whether it be organizational or motivational. So what's next for the team, for you personally? Where are your objectives?
So right now we're just at nearing the end of the season in the Porsche Esports Super Cup, one of our bigger competitions. There's the Le Mans final in the Forza competition coming up. ADAC GD Masters in Race Room has just started, and F1 Esports is just about to start, plus another league in Assetto Corsa that's coming up in next couple of weeks as well. So we're just getting started this year, even though it's quite late in the year. F1 Esports, of course, the most important one, has the biggest reach, has the biggest competition, is also the tightest, has the biggest brands involved and all that. So our goal here is to defend the title, of course, that we won last year. Potentially also grab the driver's title, but always difficult in that league. And like our job right now is just to make the drivers as free in that regard as possible for them to excel in what they do.
Yeah. And you personally?
Me personally, we'll see. I mean, as all the brands are in sim racing, I'm kind of investing in the space myself, in the sense that I'm investing all my time, and I'm trying to get a living out of it in the end. And of course, the job at Red Bull pays, but always looking for more, of course. And therefore, I'm trying different routes where to finance myself.
Awesome. I'm so glad you didn't lose me. If we just had a complete power cut for a second, but you might have seen that flash. Nils, it's been incredible to speak to you. Really, really interesting, and exactly the kind of chat that VCO want to continue with over the next couple of weeks. Make sure you always join us Monday at 8 o'clock in the evening. We always have a guest on, regardless to whether they're a driver, a team manager, even a platform creator. Perhaps we'll see one of those in the next couple of weeks. But for now, it's thank you to Nils, to G2 Esports, to Red Bull Racing Esports as well. And we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.